Hey guys, this is Gatsby with Tape, and today you join me for episode 13 of Kerbal Wars, and we are in the aftermath of the battle for Duna. This little fighter, this I guess Scorpion Mark II, is still alive with our little Kerbal pilot on board. Well, I think he's going to go and search through the wreckage of the carrier to look for survivors and see if there's anywhere, well, any weaponry he can, obtain to keep him safe in these troubling times, since we have no more forces out at Duna. Well, we have this fighter, I think we have another heavy fighter left, and pretty much a mobile carrier with a couple of missiles on it. So, not carrier, a corvette. So anyway, flying towards this first target, it's one of the things labeled ship, the Hawk Mark I Draco ship, so I'm hoping that's going to be some sort of pod, or maybe the other fighter, maybe. I think the command module was maybe destroyed, but anyway, we're coming up on it now. As my phone goes off, I'll just turn that off. And it looks like it's just a piece of armor. I think it's named a ship because it has a docking port, and that can be like targeted, I guess, so it counts as a ship. Anyway, let's go on to the next target. So yeah, that's not good. There's just lots of debris. You can see the debris field. It has diverged a little bit because it's been a little while since the battle. And we're coming up on the next bit. It doesn't look like anything massively significant, but, well, we're very far away, so we can't really tell at this point. So let's just drift in and see what we've got here. It's glinting. It looks like it might be a beam. Yeah, that could be something. Well, the beams are where the fighters were mounted and the missiles were stored, so this could be something relatively good. This fighter's running pretty low on RCS fuel, and yes, we switch over to it and you can see it's the other fighter with, I think, some missiles on it. I think there's missiles on the fighter and potentially on the beam as well. But yeah, this was running pretty low on RCS fuel, which is pretty annoying because, well, the iron engine can only run at about half power out at Duna, so it's not great. So I'm going to slow down and check if there's a survivor in the capsule, and if not, take that fighter instead of this, because I think it's far more fueled than this, and it's armed. Oh, it doesn't actually look like there are any missiles on it. That's a shame. Oh yeah, they were stored on separate beams, the fighters and the missiles. That's annoying. Well, anyway, hopefully some will turn up. I thought I saw some after the battle. It would be good to grab them. So yeah, let's just dock onto this beam and grab that other fighter, and well, check for signs of life first, and then well, and then I guess steal it if not. So just fade to that, and we're moving in now quite nicely and gently, and you can see the debris field over here. This has drifted pretty far from the main debris field, the kind of cluster of ruined parts. Yeah, we weren't really prepared for what happened last episode. We didn't bring enough firepower, and we don't have any out here anymore. Well, maybe a little bit, but probably not enough to, well, do what we need to do. But anyway, we're coming up against the docking port now, and we'll probably shake around a great deal since, well, since they're both very heavy pieces of things. So I do switch on the SAS just to kind of stabilize it, although it does look a little crazy at this point. If there is a pilot in there, I'm sure I'll be very annoyed that we've shaken him around so much. But yeah, it doesn't look like there is a fighter. There is no pilot in there, since we can transfer our pilot over. So we're just going to take it and leave before, well, before anyone shows up looking for, well, anyone else shows up looking for pilots, which hopefully hopefully won't be the enemy. We don't really know what they're doing right now. I guess hopefully still reeling a little bit, since we did destroy, I think, 1 or 2 of their ships, or at least damaged one and destroyed the other, and they still have one active. I think they are still armed lightly, but it's kind of hard to tell at this point. It's just a worry that they may have more forces heading in, but we can't really tell at this point, so we're just going to regroup and take stock, I guess. There's a nice large piece of the carrier's back wall over there, actually. And I think it might have some fuel attached to it, so I'm actually going to go and fly over and see that, and see if it's somewhere we could, well, have a little orbital base for a little while, I guess. I haven't found any other pilots at this point, because I'm pretty sure the capsule was destroyed, and the crew cans will be marked as debris because they weren't attached to docking ports and they had no probes on them. So that's a little annoying. I will try and look for them though, because we do have that other fighter over there, which would be very useful if we could have another one, since I think we have about 3 active ships left. Although there are, of course, pilots left in the damaged what is it? What do we call it? Justiciar. I almost said Conquistador for some reason. Yeah, so there are pilots. Well, yeah, a couple of pilots in there, I think. Anyway, skipping ahead, we can see it's quite a decent bit of ship, actually. It still has engines and a decent amount of reaction wheels. It has that large back wall, some places to dock. A ton of RCS as well, actually. So this could be a pretty good base of running like hell. Or maybe actually, well, not running, I mean base of like hiding from the enemies. Although, yeah, it could actually maybe be used for running away if I can balance the masses, since it still has engines and a great deal of fuel. I mean, it's all well illuminated still, which is quite nice. But yeah, it still seems, well, obviously it's nothing compared to what it was. It's like a husk, but it's not totally doomed. Anyway, emerging from the distance is the other fighter. He never actually engaged in any combat. I think I was going to move him in a little while after the carrier was destroyed, but at that point the firepower was clearly too dangerous for this to do anything useful, so I kept him alive for this sort of thing, protecting anyone who is still alive. He still has 4 missiles. Hopefully will defend against anything that may come. I think I'd probably out-missile them at this point, especially since these other 4 missiles turned up. They just drifted into my midst, which is quite nice. Another 4 missiles would be very useful. They're the high-powered ones I designed for my Scorpions. I think we only fired off 2 of those in the battle, hitting one of the Scorpion Mark IIs. So yeah, it's looking up for us. Look at getting some missiles together. Might even just be able to run away, although I don't know when the next transfer window is. Oh, I guess I could run to somewhere else, but yeah, just a rogue group of, that'd be cool. A rogue group of ex-military just buzzing around Dres and the moons of Jewel. I don't know how much fuel I have on here, though. And I doubt there'll be much help from the Oberth effect around Duna, since it is much smaller than Kerbal. But I guess we could find out. And if we get the fuel out of the Justiciar, actually. Which might be quite difficult because it probably still has fuel tanks. I don't know the state of the Justiciar. I haven't actually looked at it yet. I know it's lost most of its engines and has fired off all of its weaponry, except for 2 missiles, I think, 2 small ones. But yeah, so things are looking not totally terrible. And I'm going to send this little fighter out to go and pick up those other missiles. I'm just going to grab all 4 of them in a stack on the front of my fighter and bring them back, since, well, it's just good to have anything we can have right now. It would be nice to go and find some crew cans, get some extra pilots, maybe rescue the Justiciar, which is probably gonna be targeted relatively soon. But it has a couple of missiles if it needs to fight. But I guess I could stick them on a fighter, or just put them on the carriers if anything turns up. I mean, they're really good because they're the ones that you can, like, they're smart missiles, so you can use RCS to move them around, and it doesn't really matter what you're pointing at, so they're good for big ships. Anyway, I've just cut through all the moving around and most of the docking because it was quite laborious. But I brought all these back and just going to put them on this other docking port. But yeah, there's still half a hangar here. So one of the fighters will be safe because the other one's on the other side and this one's on this side. So if it's attacked from one angle, the other one will be safe. So yeah, it's 50-50 chance. It's pretty good. Although, considering the amount of firepower they had last episode, I don't think this armor will actually do anything. It just was stripped right through. You can see just how much destruction those brought. Same sort of missiles we have on the Justiciar, well, had on the Justiciar, which did ruin one of their fighters, which is good because we need to be doing some ruining. Anyway, let's just get this docked up now and stowed and safe, and then I think we'll well, take stock of our situation. And it appears from our tracking station, a Rodney McKay class escort carrier has appeared, and it's definitely not on our team. So it appears more ships have appeared in our midst, and a SF-7A3 Cobra squad. That sounds pretty worrying. It appears the rebels have signed up with some sort of other organization at this point, or maybe a couple. Yes, those are some of the fan-made crafts. I'm looking at them right now. But yeah, there's a very nice carrier there. Well, not nice, evil. And a couple of fighters which have reinforced our enemy, which is pretty damning for our people out there, since we have 2 active fighters. Actually 3 if we can get another pilot. But still, anyway, that has been enough to really shake up the people back at Kerbin. So we're sending a little rocket to the not the Justicia, the Illustrious, to rearm it, because we're going to need, well, we're going to need more ammunition. Because I haven't actually put the smart missiles back on it yet, and it appears that they've been able to send a great deal of force out to Duna, and it appears there's some sort of conglomerate now, since the rebels were originally funded by some large by some large company, and it appears the large company has also enlisted some more mercenaries by the looks of those ships, which is well, pretty damning. So the military council back here on Kerbin for Goliath Industries has well, requested that we rearm our fleet, well, our main defense ship, the corvette, and then also grow our fleet out around Kerbin, since our fleet wasn't enough around Duna, and it's still about the same size, so we'd like something much larger. So yeah, anyway, these are the missiles on a pretty small rocket, actually. I know it had some boosters, but it has pretty low thrust, and it's actually, I had to do this quite delicately because I didn't bring a great deal of fuel. This has all been sped up, but I left in all the maneuvers all just sped up because it was relatively interesting. And there's those RCS engines for OMS, which is orbital, well, the orbital maneuvering system, I guess. And they're well, just gonna allow me to circularize my orbit and move in. But yeah, we do use quite a bit of the fuel out of the missiles as well, because we are pretty low on. Well, I didn't bring quite enough fuel, but I was determined to make this rocket work because, well, it's, I always like making rockets work that kind of, you don't quite have enough fuel or thrust or something, and just kind of powering through. And annoyingly, the Illustrious is still on an annoying inclination, which I'll probably fix at some point, because it's really annoying to launch to. It's not that hard, but I always just kind of forget, and then have to make a really annoying maneuver. So anyway, I'm going to allow some use of the fuel in a couple of these missiles for the engines, since they all use the same kind of fuel. And then just get this on the right plane, and then move into our target, which pretty much just involves a couple of burns. So put my altitude on the other side of the orbit at the same, well, my apoaps at the same altitude as the orbit of our target, and then perform a burn to circularize out there, and then a third burn so that I can, well, I can get close to the Illustrious in the day, so that we can see it and things. So I could have done this with 2 burns, but I decided to use 3 so that our encounter will be in the day. So that's all relatively simple stuff, but I left it in because it's sometimes just interesting to see this sort of thing happen. I usually actually do pretty aggressive maneuvers in this series because, well, I justify it with they're space battles. I do aggressive maneuvers, and it was really nice actually out at Duna having that ion engine, just having pretty much all the Delta V I could possibly need. Just being able to check all of those things and fly around without worrying about it. Although my monopropellant did run pretty low on that first fighter. But still, it's good to have an ion engine. But yeah, I had to do these reasonably delicately. That's why these aren't really aggressive maneuvers, because I was very low on fuel. And that's pretty much why most maneuvers in space are so delicate. And, well, usually use computers. Well, pretty much always use computers these days in space stuff. Like when Soyuz docks to the station. Oh, good, someone's doing hoovering right near my room. I'll have to speak up. Yeah. Like the Soyuz in when it docks to the station is just computerized because it's far more efficient, and then if it's more efficient you use less fuel, and if you use less fuel things lighter and cheaper, and the rocket can be less capable, which is good because the Soyuz rockets don't have a massive lifting capability, but they are quite impressive because they are quite small when you actually see them relative to something much as a lot of the other rockets. But well, I don't really know about the price of Soyuz. I know they overcharge Americans for flights to the space station. Or maybe they don't, maybe they're really expensive. But I kind of doubt it, because I always assume that Russian rockets are much cheaper than American ones. Anyway, I'm just talking about nothing to do with this series right now. I was just filling time talking about maneuvering, I guess. But yeah, here we are, coming up on the Illustrious, our Corvette Mark I, which hasn't been destroyed yet. It's had a far more illustrious career, although probably not actually as illustrious as the Justiciars, since the Justiciar went and did a big battle out at Duna. Although this did take down a whole thing by itself at Minmus, which was quite impressive. But they're pretty outgunned at this point now that there's far more maneuverable, easier to aim things with the same sort of weapon systems, better weapon systems maybe even. Although these can carry a lot and just destroy loads of things. But anyway, we have arrived at our target now. It's just a matter of nulling our velocity so that we can throw these missiles on the ship so that, well, we can... a lot of noise outside my room distracting. Anyway, yeah, you can see you just dock them with the missile systems and use the RCS to kill this movement, which is pretty simple. But yeah, we're getting quite a lot of sway at this point. But yeah, you just use the RCS to null the swaying maneuver, the swaying motion, because it's quite annoying. So yeah, that was relatively easy, and it's nice having RCS-based missiles because they're very easy to dock because they fly themselves. But yeah, and this was quite annoying, having to null all this velocity. I won't leave this in for all of them. As you can see, these are just, the rest just kind of go on, and they were actually less annoying than the first one. And then there's the third one, just clipping on there. And then the fourth one, there we go. That's all the missiles. It's fully armed and ready to kill again. And has that new radiator, which is quite nice. Anyway, talking of expanding our fleet, this is a new heavy fighter. The same sort of thing we've sent out to Duna, which they're reasonably good, although I actually kind of want to update their missiles because they're a bit terrible. The solid rocket booster missile, like the little solid Separatrons on the side of things, don't seem to be massively effective, actually, which is a shame. But this is going to be going to the battle station, since there's already 2 there in the hangars. I guess it'll be a little more exposed because there's only 2 hangars out on the station. But still, a third fighter is always good because we want to be able to defend Kerbal from these, well, conglomerate of rebels and people who just want to use the rebels to protect their oil, their illegal mining of things. Obviously, they break regulations and do very unsafe things to save money, and pass some of that money on to people to stop me coming and regulating it or something like that. Story stuff. But yeah, this was just the same sort of rocket I use for most of these. A 2.5 meter with some boosters, so that it doesn't need a second stage, and then it does need a 3.5 meter fairing because it's got a massive wingspan, which is actually quite useful if ever I have to drop into the atmosphere, or just as armor, as I've said a few times. But yeah, we're just going to deploy this into space. I think the rocket gets us all the way into orbit. Then obviously the maneuvering's just done by the fighter, because the fighter's made for in-space maneuvers and things. Yeah, these are pretty simple, actually, these fighters. Just relatively simple parts, but they are, I think they can be quite effective. They are quite nice. And then I'm just going to leave the stage there so that it doesn't actually come anywhere near the station, because it's kind of annoying if you have a giant stage full of fuel about to smash into your station. I guess we could shoot it away, but well, the combat does take quite a long time to orchestrate. Like aiming is quite difficult if you want to get good hits. Although autopilot does make it much quicker than it used to be, so the combat does rattle off relatively much quicker than it used to now, which is quite nice. It makes it feel more like a space battle. But the magic of editing makes it look probably a lot less laborious than it really is. Anyway, let's move. I said laborious, so let's move into our battle station 1. Maybe we should get a battle station 2, just like a wall of battle stations. But yeah, this is, I guess, just well, one of our good lines of defense, and you can see those hangars keeping those fighters relatively safe. It doesn't completely doesn't completely cover them, but it provides them with a decent amount of protection, I guess, from light missile fire. I guess if it was those Blade Mark 2s, which it probably will be, could probably tear these apart quite easily. Although that armor might deflect them or protect them from something if the missile hits close to them. It's just better to have it, and it's just better to have it than not have it, really. But anyway, let's just get this docked on, and I'll slow it down to 1 times time accelerate, so you can appreciate the sereneness of orbital docking. Or the terrible frame rate I experience. I actually don't even really notice it now because I'm so used to it. This actually looks really bad from here. That's why I tend to speed things up, or just do a lot of editing, because it's very low frame rates. This has now become quite big. Annoyingly, someone sent me this amazing frigate, which I wanted to use, but it was 800 parts, and this is 300, and it's lagging like hell. And it's getting worse for some reason. I don't know why, but yeah, I would love to use that. But the guy also sent me another carrier I kind of might implement, because it's a really awesome design, way better than all of mine. So yeah, anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you're looking forward to seeing some of the crafts made by other people. So yeah, this has been Kerbal Wars episode 13. I'll see you next time.